This is Ukraine Invasion Analysis, February 28th. The invasion has not gone well for Putin thus far. An initial plan for a blitzkrieg domination of Ukraine within 72 hours did not come to pass. This is in large measure due to Putin's underestimation of the Ukrainian will to fight, Zelensky's decision to stay in Kiev, the tremendous show of support of unity amongst the Ukrainian people, as well as the continual stream of images and videos from social media, which have acted as a force multiplier for morale. Western-supplied weapons, including Javelin missiles and Turkish drones, have undoubtedly also been a factor in battlefield success, as well as reports of low morale and logistical problems amongst the Russian advance. Vladimir Putin is in a tough spot. Having invested all his forces and reputation in the all-out destruction of the pro-Western Zelensky government, with near universal international condemnation and catastrophic economic sanctions leveled against Russia, there will be few face-saving measures for Putin, short of a military victory. We can thus expect Putin to double down on the military campaign, including greater use of indiscriminate violence to grind the Ukrainians down in a war of attrition. Putin's seemingly unprovoked, thinly veiled threats of using nuclear weapons suggest his degree of stress, some would say madness, and communicates how important a win is in Ukraine for him personally. A student of history, Putin knows that in Russia, military defeats have historically led to regime change, such as in 1905 and in 1917. The domestic Russian political situation remains a question mark. Protests all over Russia erupted as soon as the invasion began. These protesters decided to march despite the risk of arrest and other repression. This is mostly due to the shock and sheer incomprehensibility of this conflict that we've seen in the Russian population. It would be as insane as a situation where the US invaded and bombed Canada. As the images and videos of Ukraine continue to galvanize popular outrage, it will be matched only by the hardship of sanctions and international isolation. Fearing the collapse of the ruble, long lines of people formed outside banks to withdraw money. Members of the Russian elite that have kept quiet traditionally have now come out against the war. How this can affect Putin is unknown. The events of the past 5 days have put into place the conditions that have historically led to a palace coup. First, an unpopular conflict that has galvanized both the public and elites against the regime. Second, Putin shows evidence of mental instability, for example, pulling out the nuclear card unprovoked on day 4. Third, a less than successful military campaign suggesting the commander-in-chief is out of touch with the geostrategic reality and that of his own soldiers. However, as Putin and his inner circle are all ex-KGB agents, Putin can be expected to have a well-developed sense against internal plots. But if the above dynamics play out over days and weeks, it is likely that some attempt at internal regime change will occur, especially in more extreme scenarios. One can imagine, for instance, if Putin was insane enough to order a nuclear strike, it might trigger a coup by a military unwilling to carry out that order, a scenario like in the movie Crimson Tide.
Captain, I relieve you of your command of this ship.
On the one hand, one cannot help but feel bad for the young Russian soldiers seen in the videos. Many clearly did not expect nor want to be there. On the other hand, other videos show callous Russian disregard for civilian life, such as the video of the tank running over the car or the missile strike on the Kiev condo. These dueling realities form a contradiction. Such contradictions increase the probability of mutiny among parts of the military. The Syrian civil war was precipitated by defections in the Syrian army who refused to carry out orders. As Putin doubles down on the invasion for his own political survival, these contradictions will increase the probability that segments of the Russian military will mutiny. A mutiny of any significant scale would exponentially increase the probability of a palace coup. That said, any military success by Russia would reduce the chance of a mutiny. As Ukrainian and Russian negotiators meet on the border with Belarus today, a status quo solution that could end hostilities might include concessions by Ukraine of its two separatist regions to Russia, or some kind of moratorium on NATO membership. Putin can say he has rescued the Russians from genocide and everyone goes home. However, this would just be a ceasefire, since none of the underlying drivers of the conflict would be addressed. It would give time for Ukraine to rearm and regroup, which would make any further Russian military action even harder. The prospect of a settlement is thus unlikely, given Putin's stated goal of denazification, quote-unquote, aka regime change to a puppet pro-Russian government.